dancers move in unison. The magnificent processions of elephants, the transport animal of kings, are decorated with cloths, featuring stunning colors and designs. How many other places on earth allow faith and aesthetics to coexist for thousands of years like this? Since the emergence of this huge Buddhist festival in the 3rd century BC, Perahera, or the Festival of the Tooth, has been held through generations, late in the month of July. So when all of the performers gather together again, everyone in the country will anxiously await this magnificent pageant in the full moonlight on the island nation of Sri Lanka, the pearl of the Indian Ocean. Spirit of Asia is your guide to the oldest pageant in Asia, from the beginning of the ceremony in the morning to the unique atmosphere of people in Kandy who wait for this grand celebration at night. The type of faith that intensifies over time indeed heightens the grandeur of this festival. Relive the history of this event and witness the colorful mass and the magnificence of the Perahera procession in the heart of Sri Lanka. Even though we are in a valley, the intense heat of the sun is typical of the weather in Kandy in late July. If Colombo is the economic center of Sri Lanka, Kandy is seen as the spiritual center for most Sri Lankans. Located at a lofty elevation of 480 meters above sea level, we can see why Kandy has been such an important city in the history of Sri Lanka. After Portuguese ships had exerted their power along the coastal towns of Sri Lanka Island in 1542, Kandy, which is located in the middle of the country, was established as the capital of the Kandyan dynasty in 1590. The name Kandy is derived from the Sinhalese word Kanda, which means hill. Portugal, Dutch, and Britain were all determined to seize this capital. Eventually, the British Empire took over this land, which is why Western-style architecture can be seen in every corner of this hill-ridden city. The Perahera is a religious festival that exhibits a strong combination of two religious influences, Buddhism and Hinduism. Before the 4th century, Buddha's tooth relic, which was the private property of the king at the time, was allowed to be taken into a procession enacted to request rainfall from the gods for the masses to admire and to venerate. They believed that these two things, the tooth relic and the procession, would help make rainfall when it was needed the most. So the modern-day procession called Dalada Perahera emerged at this time, and the tooth relic, which is specifically the left molar of Buddha, is the most important part of the procession. From here, we can clearly see buildings that were constructed in the distant past. The architectural style was based on traditional beliefs. The outer wall was a wave pattern which represents water ripples, and the inner wall has a curl pattern which symbolizes clouds. The tooth relic is carefully placed in a 3-story building under a golden canopy. These 3 buildings together symbolize that the tooth relic is enshrined in paradise. The beliefs which have long been reflected through art and faith reveal that, despite the passage of time, the spiritual center of the Sri Lankan people is still here, in the heart of the country.
เรียกว่าเป็นศาลาลักษณะแบบเหมือนกันรัฐสภาปัจจุบันนะครับที่อันนี้เป็นเกือบ300 ปีมาแล้วนะครับกษัตริย์ก็เป็นกษัตริย์องค์สุดท้ายแล้วก็เป็นราชสิงห์ในสมัยกษัตริย์องค์นั้นสร้างที่ศาลานี้นะครับอันนี้ก็เป็นชายเป็นหมายแล้วก็ในสมัยชาวอังกฤษปกครองที่ประเทศศรีลังกาก็อันนี้ก็เป็นชัยเหมือนกันเป็นรัฐสภานะครับมีประชุมทุกอย่างทำที่นี่นะครับใครก็ทำอะไรผิดไปก็คุยกันจากที่นี่นะครับแต่ละเผ่าปกติมีแต่ละเผ่ามีแต่ละคนที่เรายิงอยู่นะครับอันนี้เรียกว่าปาสซิงฮอนปัตติริปัวหรือออกจากกันเนอร์บิลดิ้งนะครับหรือตึกแพทเรียมนะครับอันนี้เป็นออฟฟิศของกษัตริย์องค์สุดท้ายที่ประเทศศรีลังกาชื่อพระเจ้าสรีวิกรมราชสิงห์ในอดีตก็กษัตริย์องค์นี้แล้วก็มาที่นี่พระเจ้าจนอยู่ที่ข้างหลังนะครับแล้วก็ทุกอย่างอยากจะอธิบายทุกอย่างจากที่นี่อธิบายพระเจ้าจนต้องฟังข้างหลังนะครับอันนี้อีกด้านหนึ่งสายมานะครับเป็นทะเลสาบให้ขุดขึ้นในสมัยพระเจ้าสรีวิกรมราชสิงห์ปีพ.ศ. 2343นะครับให้ขุดขึ้นในอดีตก็เป็นทำนาอันนั้นเป็นเดวาลัยนะครับเดวาลัยมี4เดวาลัยนะครับนาฏวิเศนุกัตรกมะปัตตินีแล้วก็อีกด้านนึงมีกษัตริย์ทรงน้ำเวลาทรงน้ำก็อยู่ที่โน่นนะครับอันนั้นเรียกว่าปาสสิงฮอนเดียติเลกะมาลิกาวแปลว่าเป็นวังเดียติเลกะแปลว่าเป็นสถานที่ทรงน้ำ
Sri Lankan people of all genders and ages choose to spend their days off making merit, just as Uposatha is a public holiday in Sri Lanka. Before the procession and ceremony commence, the participants come to the temple to worship the tooth relic in the morning. On this very special occasion, people from all over the country flock here. The overwhelming expression of faith by the general public has made this place very, very crowded. Men and women wearing white garments, with parents carrying an endless number of children, and people flocking in every possible direction is a regular scene here in late July. Sri Lankan people always worship the Buddha tooth relic with flowers without incense. Lit candles are placed in a designated area due to safety concerns. Since the 9th century of the Buddhist era, the Buddha tooth relic has been enshrined here and never been taken out of the country. It was first brought here from Jambudwipa by Princess Hamamala. The Sri Lankan people pay their highest respect to the tooth relic. They believe that if the tooth relic is brought out of Sri Lanka, it will bring disaster to the country. Although getting close to the Buddha tooth relic is in very high demand, the protection of this sacred item is of the utmost importance. Leaving the temple, we're now roaming in the city. The city is still as exquisite as in the past, but the buildings and their long history are not as outstanding as the atmosphere at this moment. The Sri Lankan people's strong faith in Buddhism has made Kandy very different from a typical day. Bright-colored saris enhance every corner of the city. Many streets are closed in preparation for the procession in the evening. Many local people come to reserve spaces in the morning to get the best location. Some of them come at the break of dawn, and others must pay to reserve special seats. The owners of properties which are located along the procession route put chairs on their premises and sell the seats to onlookers. Most of their customers are definitely foreign tourists who are not familiar with the area. The prices of the seats range from 400 baht to more than 10,000 baht, which is the price of high-class seats on the premises of the Queen's Hotel. Our guide, Gayan, estimates the number of people attending the festival each year is more than 100,000 people. Based on these figures, there is no doubt that a huge amount of money will be flowing into the area from sunrise until the end of the festival. Apart from the large number of people coming here to reserve space, another thing that we see here is the kindness of the participants of the festival. They buy food and drinks and give them to members of the audience because it is very difficult to walk around in the crowd. Here we can get a feel of the atmosphere of the crowd by talking to people who are waiting anxiously to see the grand procession.
มาจริงสิ
เขามาทุกปีเลยนะครับ
ทำไมถึงต้องมาทุกปีอะครับเพื่อ
ไม่ได้มาอุตมินเขาก็ชอบแต่ก็ดูขบวนแน่ครับ
While people are waiting to see the procession outside, Ratchet Gwawa is occupying himself preparing for the festival as well. Ratchet is of Tamil ancestry from Kandy and has dedicated himself to the religious life since he was a child. Ratchet, who is in his 30s, has been entrusted by senior monks to monitor and manage the important work in the temple. So for the grand festival of Perahera, he takes on an important responsibility again as the person in charge of the elephants in the procession, which is one of the most crucial positions in the festival.
ก็บอกว่าเขาทรงทุกคนนะที่วัดนี้นะเขาทรงดูและยังดีเป็นชางเกี่ยวกับอาหารเป็นป่วยหรือเปล่าแล้วก็เดินได้ไหมแล้วก็มีปัญหาไหมทุกอย่างก็ทรงดูและเป็นทำงานเป็นร่วมเป็นทีมครับเขาบอกว่าเป็นชักเขียวแค่เป็นคำลองเป็นเทดีองค์นั้นออกไปที่มีช้างตัวหนึ่งช้างตัวนั้นเป็นช้างเป็นคำลองเทดีองค์นั้นออกไปครับ
ඒකලුත් ඒ වගේ තමයි. ඒක සතුට වාර කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒකටිත් මේ අවුරුදු එක සැර යනවා කියලා ඒකටි සන්තෝෂයෙන් ඒ දේ කැපවෙලා කරනවා තමන්ගේ වගේ දේ ඉතින් තමයි කරන්නේ.
ทุกคนก็คิดเหมือนกันนะครับเราก็ยินดีด้วยนะครับ
වෙනසක් නැහැ.
อันนี้มีมาปีละครั้งเดียวแล้วก็อันนี้ก็เป็นคนไหนก็ไม่มีบุญแล้วก็ทำงานไม่ได้แบบนี้
Ratchet says the elephants that participate in the procession have many specifications, including being good-natured, being well-behaved, and never expressing any harsh manner, as well as having perfect bodies. The age of the elephants is not a factor, but the most important things are they must have long trunks, and their tusks must be close together, which is considered to be a sign of beauty. Nedum Gamaway Raja is an example of an elephant with good character and has been chosen to carry the Buddha tooth relic this year. By the time evening comes, the number of people waiting for the procession has increased dramatically. So has the number of performers who are waiting for the announcement inside. An uproar begins immediately after the first cannonball is fired in the early evening. All of the performers know that this is a time of preparation for them. Many of them are in a hurry, even though they have been preparing some things in advance for each day of the procession. Mr. Peter Sorasena must order his team to speed up during the last night of the festival this year. Peter is a performing arts teacher in Kandy, so it isn't surprising that he is assigned to be the team leader of the West Dance performance each year. Tonight, a primary school in Kandy is being used as the place of preparation for the West Dance. Which is one of the highlight performances of the festival because of its unique style of clothing and the concerted dancing style of the performers. The West Dance has always been one of the most popular performances in the festival. It originated from an ancient purification ritual. The dance has very exciting rhythms and is performed only by male performers. Consisting of dancers called Kohoma Yakuna. and drummers called Kohoma Gangaria. There are actually 50 performers in each group. Costumes are another important part of the performance. The dancers wear silver headgear, which is called wes, and more than 60 silver ornaments are put on their shoulders and other parts of their bodies. The dancers drape pleated white cloths over the lower half of their bodies. While the drummers use 7.5 yards of cloth to drape their bodies and wear ornaments. In addition, the elephants under the supervision of Ratchet Gwawa are also dressed with cloths after the cannonball is fired. The cloths are woven and decorated with local Sri Lankan ornaments created by 20 expert artisans. The decorative patterns of the cloths include lotus, pineapple, and the most important one, peacock, which is one of the symbols of Sri Lanka. Eventually, the time that everybody has been waiting for arrives. Every road in Kandy becomes quiet. This year, Perahera is magnificent as usual. The procession begins with the performers and whipcrackers heralding the approach of the Perahera. The local people say this symbolizes thunder. This is followed by Buddhist flag bearers, fireball performers, and then elephants, dancers, and drummers. The highlight is undoubtedly the elephants, because the elephant in the first procession is the one that carries the Buddha tooth relic on its back. The tusker is followed by the Diyawadana Nilame, who wears traditional Kandian clothes. He is the person who is required to do everything in his power to ensure that rain comes in the correct season. The second procession is from the Nata Dewa, and the third is from the Vishnu Dewa. The fourth is from the Gantaragama Dewa. This procession is memorable because of the peacock dance. The fifth and final procession is the Patani Dewa, featuring a goddess who has the power to cure all infectious diseases and alleviate drought and famine. The majestic grandeur of the Perahera pageant remains vividly imprinted in our minds. The Perahera is not only a festival that is renowned around the world, the long procession also illustrates the harmony of people from various places with a unified purpose. The faith and belief together with the harmony of the people and the art has made the Perahera become one of the festivals that people from all over the world dream of seeing with their very own eyes. After witnessing this amazing spectacle, we believe this historic festival will always exist to represent the way of life of the Sri Lankan people. On the next episode, we will take you to the northernmost part of Sri Lanka, in Jaffna, the former land of battlefields, and the base of the liberation tigers of Tamil Eelam. After the guns have fallen silent, Jaffna has been revived again. Experience the lives of the people of Jaffna next week on Spirit of Asia.